In this video we'll demonstrate the new Flying Start Genie. The Flying Start Genie gets you started really quickly when you build a web application by creating grid components for all of the tables in your database, and it then puts all of those tables into a tabbed UI component which serves as the home page of your application. So let's start out now, and we'll say new, and we'll go to the Flying Start Genie. Then we'll choose a connection, and we'll choose to SQL. We'll connect to SQL Server to the Northwinds database in SQL Server. We'll go to select tables. Right now it's showing me all the tables and views in the database. Let me just turn off views so we just have tables, and then I'll say select all, and you can see we're going through all the tables and selecting them. Then I can accept all the default settings here, or customize the grid. I'll just accept the default settings. Here are the global properties, and again I can just accept all the default settings, and we'll come back later in the video to see what these overrides allow you to do. Then I'll go to finish over here, and I'll click the finish button. This is going to let me save my settings in case I want to use them again in the future. So I'll just go here and just type in, say, Northwinds, and now basically Alpha 5 is going to start creating grids for all of the tables in my database. And I'll just pause temporarily while. So it basically takes a few seconds for each grid that it builds, and now it's publishing the grids, and it's opening up now in my browser, and you can see here's a tabbed UI component, and every table now has a grid for it. So there's my categories, customer demographics, customers, employees, order details, orders, products. Now every grid that gets built has a search part which lets me search, and also a detail view which lets me edit. So if I click on the detail view there, you can see that opens up an editable detail view. So you can see that within just a few mouse clicks in a short period of time, you can create a lot of components very quickly and get started with your web application. This gives you your maintenance pages for every table in your database. But you can also add a fair amount of customization in the Genie, and then of course after the Genie has built all the components, you can then go back and edit any of the components. So let's go back now and take a look at some of the customization that we can add to the components. Okay, so now we're back at the web control panel, and you can see here are all of the components that were created. But let's go back now and say new Flying Start Genie, and this time we're going to basically open the Genie that we previously worked with. So you can see there it comes back, and so for each table here you can see that if we turn off that checkbox, we can specify whether the component is editable, and you can see that all of these settings now, whether it's editable, whether it has a grid part, what grid part fields there are, does it have a search part, etc. All of them are set right now to use global settings. So I could go, for example, to the grid for territories and change that into no, in which case it'll be no, or I could go here and say no to all, which would make all of the components not editable. But if I use the default, which is use global settings, then that means that it's going to inherit the value for this property from the global settings over here. So you can see here that editable is set to true. So if I were to go here and change this to false, then every table that uses use global settings would be false unless I did a local override to that property over here. So let's pause here and then pick it up in the next video.